All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. So we're preparing to get underway for our 12th and final round of IESC's third season of GT Racing here. Second to last race that IESC will be doing overall on this game. Ladies and gentlemen, this is looking like will be a very interesting one. We've been keeping you up to date on this championship fight that has slowly developed over the first half of the season and has been turned into an absolute brawl in the latter half of the season. ScoredBuffalo, who has won 3 of the first 5 races of the season and has been holding the championship points lead basically since the drop of the green flag, or technically, I guess, drop of the checkered flag at Bathurst, is under threat from Lucky, who is coming off the back of 6 straight wins and 8 wins overall this season. But the big wild card today is that it is likely that we are not going to see either Lucky or ScoredBuffalo win this race today. We may have a new winner in today's events. The championship is also really up in play, as is 3rd in the Drivers' Championship, as is 5th in the Drivers' Championship, and so is 7th in the Drivers' Championship as well. There's also 2 other drivers who are showing up today, ACR Snake and TBF Matter, who are just trying to show up, earn whatever points they can to climb that extra step or 2 higher in this title fight. So there's a lot of wild cards that are going into today's event. The most significant thing, though, is that ScoredBuffalo and LuckyVII, your 2 dominant top drivers who have won every race this season, they are not running tuned vehicles. They are running these stock setups in their cars. And despite that overall, your pole setter is ScoredBuffalo in one of those stock tunes. He is actually 2 seconds faster than Shredder, who is one of the slower people in the BMW builds. So, despite not having any tune or anything pre-built in that car, Scored and Lucky could still be fighting near the front, but a walkaway victory by one of those drivers are very unlikely in today's event. Real quickly, I do want to go ahead and look over the championship here. 1 second. Discord is giving me fits right now. But I do want to go ahead and give you an update on the championship points as we come into this last race of the season. So, we want to go ahead and start from the bottom. 34th place is Boiled Bird 88. He has 80 points. 33rd is Porsche FL with 100 points. 32nd is Smat Pack with 110 points. 31st is Coco Gamer 11. He has 120 points. 30th is Flag 4199 with 127.5 points. 29th is RZM Sean with 170. 28th is RZM Valkyrie with 180 points. 27th is Tactical Fall. He has 185 points. 26th is SCR Dremore with 195 points. 25th is DMS Aspect with 210 points. 24th is LMP Grizz. He has 230 points. 23rd is TMS Bum Drop with 305 points. 22nd is Now Prime 77 with 315 points. 21st is LarryBtheg with 325 points. 19th is TheTireBarrier with 328.5 points. 18th is ACR Snake with 385 points. He's one of the interesting drivers to walk. Depending on how things go, he could end up climbing up as high as 16th in points. 17th in points is Rockmorrow. He has 450 points. 16th is TTJ101. He has 485 points at this stage of the season. 16th is TTJ114, 485. 15th is TNR Briant. He has 510 points. 14th is RZM Brett with 600 points. 13th is Mexican Badass with 765 points. 12th is RZX U5AMVP with 895 points. 11th is GRM Jagged. He's not showing up today, so his quest to try and make the top 10 in points is over. 10th is Lud1cr0us Sp33d with 1,045 points. 9th is TBF Matter with 1,075 points. 8th is MabeyRacing, 1,080 points. 7th is NFL Racer, 4812, 1,140 points. So NFL Racer, MabeyRacing, and TBF Matter, all 3 of those drivers are here. All 3 of them are going to be fighting amongst each other for 7th in the championship. More than likely, I don't see Matter being able to get over either of them. The fight's really more between NFL Racer and Maybe, but if something happens to one of those drivers, they have a bad strategy, or one of them disconnect, Matter might be able to capitalize and move up 1 or 2 more positions. The fight for 5th is still between Prius Killer, 8110. He has 1,447.5 points. And 5th place, who is SRD Shredder, with 1,530 points. The fight for 3rd is consisting of 4th place driver TNR Horizon with 1,605 points, and 3rd place MrSunshine with 1,710 points. And then the big daddy, the one that everyone's the most focused on, your championship fight. 2nd place is LuckyVII. He has 1,960 points. And your points leader coming in today's race is ScoredBuffalo with 1,969 points. Buffalo also has the pole position in today's event. Now, real quickly, I want to go ahead and talk about some of the championship clinch scenarios that we may be looking at in today's event. Now, first, I want to start with some of the battles a little bit lower down the order. I'm not going to get into all the permutations that could come out between NFL Racer and MabeyRacing because those results are going to be incredibly up in the air. There's basically a 60-point gap between them. So, as long as NFL Racer stays around for the majority of the race, Mabey has to have an incredibly strong performance to overcome. Not saying that can't happen, though. I'm just saying MabeyRacing really has to punch way above their normal weight class. Podium almost guaranteed required for MabeyRacing to get that position back. When it comes to the 5th place championship scenarios between SRD Shredder and Prius Killer, coming into this, Shredder is going to secure the championship today as long as he finishes 10th or better. Prius is not make any challenges. So that's kind of the sad thing. Unless Shredder DCs and is not able to start this race, he's going to lock up that position, the championship, the moment from the word go today, because we only have 10 drivers running. So technically a fight, but that fight will end once the green flag falls. The fight for 3rd in the championship is a little bit more interesting on a technical level, but a little bit less interesting in some other ways. Assuming that there are no significant championship challenges between those two, MrSunshine is going to secure 3rd in the championship just by starting today's race as well. Horizon had the opportunity to run the known tuning challenge. He actually signed up for running the no tuning challenge, where you could run, get 50% bonus on your points, but your car would be nerfed right off the bat. He signed up for that and then withdrew it with about 15 minutes before this race started. So again, once we say green flag is out and we're underway here, Sunshine is going to by default lock that up because Horizon has said, I'm not willing to go for it. Horizon and Sunshine said are going to be likely the main 2 fighters for the overall race win today because, again, we don't anticipate our 2 strongest drivers to have a proper fight between each other. And then when it comes to the championship fight, both drivers, both drivers, Lucky and ScoredBuffalo, are running 3 different challenges. Now, I'm going to be honest, there's no way that all 3 of these challenges occur. That's going to be bluntly honest. What the challenges they're doing the 50% handicap, the 50% bonus points, where they will not be running tunes today. They're both running the challenge where they have to stay in the top 3 the entire day from the end of lap 2 on, and then all 3 of them are also running a challenge to lead all the laps today from start to end. I don't see either ScoredBuffalo or Lucky leading all the laps in today's race. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm saying more than likely it's not going to happen. So, ignoring the stay in the top 3 challenge, which give you 12 points, and those 12 points can also be multiplied by 50% later, but I'm going to ignore those points. And right now, I'm just going to focus on the fact that they are both doing the stock tuning challenge. Buffalo is basically in a position where he is required to finish ahead of Lucky at the end of the race today. That is the most important thing. If Lucky finishes ahead of Buffalo, Lucky's still going to win this championship as long as the 2 of them aren't going to be back in about 6th or better. Basically, Buffalo needs to finish ahead of Lucky. It's that simple for him. Lucky, he needs to be ahead of Buffalo. That's all it comes down to. With all these multipliers in play, that's the core element here. Now, stay in the top 3. If somehow one of these drivers are able to do it, normally that would give you 12 points. With the 50% bonus, that actually raises it up to 18 points. That could end up to a lot of interesting permutations, and I will talk a little bit more about what those permutations could play out as if they end up actually holding up near the end of this race, because that's kind of the crazy thing. We don't really know what the first lap or 2 is going to be like here. The first corner is a very tight hairpin, very chaotic. The second and third, fourth corners, the Al Rouge and Radion complex, are some of the most technical and most demanding and chaotic corners in all of racing. That's one of the main reasons why so many drivers marked this race as the wildcard race in the season. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't even show up as well. They didn't want to be involved in some instant there. They were more interested in just cruising around. So I'm not really going to get into that. There is a possibility that both drivers might be invalid from that challenge and can't go for that stay in top 3 from lap 2 from the end of lap 2 on challenge until, that could be over. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but there could be anywhere from 12 to 18, there could be 0 to 18 extra points in play in that challenge. Again, we'll keep an eye on that as the race goes on. But that is the main core thing we're looking at, is your championship fight between first and second. And again, the other thing, NFL Racer and MabeyRacing, they're going to be the other things to keep an eye on here, as we're just waiting to get underway right now Front row, though, despite having no tuning, it is still a front row lockout. ScoredBuffalo has pole. LuckyVII is going to be on the outside pole. Bentley, we know for a fact, is incredibly competent in a straight line. The BMW is incredibly competent in handling. I think the real crazy part, though, is going to be that the likes of MabeyRacing, who is doing what he needs to do to try and retake some of them points. He's punching above his weight class. He's qualified third. Right now, he looks like one of the strongest drivers out there. MrSunshine, who is trying to fight for a win after fighting for a win at Bathurst, leading laps at Monza, he's trying to punch above his weight class as well. TNR Horizon starting all the way back in 5th. Shredder feels a little bit competent about today's race. He actually has a little bit of confidence coming in today. He says he thinks he's found something that will work for this circuit that he doesn't have to worry about being involved in an instance with. So there are at least 4 different drivers that Buffalo Lucky are all going to have to contend with just in normal race pace. Unless, even without tuning, they are that much faster. And honestly, if that happens, we should really be looking at a scenario where the drivers who aren't lucky and scored need to seriously rethink their life, and the BOP really needs to be redone. So we're just standing by, waiting for Scored ended up dropping out of the lobby. He's going to be coming back in shortly here. Interesting enough, Lucky, he's supposed to be running the challenge, but he does not have the stock tune on the car right now. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I am not seeing him on the with the pre-built tune on. I know drivers' tunes should be loaded because NFL Racer has the tune from MabeyRacing, but I'm seeing nothing else at the moment. There's also maybe an issue with connection issues. Scored just dropped out recently now, and then Lucky also DNF'd did not finish all of qualifying due to connectivity issues, so we'll keep an eye on that as we go forward as well. So maybe a little bit later, may have a little bit later start than we were initially anticipating here. Nope, Lucky does have that tune that says it's by SRD Shredder, does signify that yes, they are going to be running that stock build. So again, your 2 drivers at the front, they are in completely stock vehicles. They're both in challenges that require them to stay in the top 3 throughout the majority of this race, from the end of lap 2 on. So as you cross the line at the end of lap 2, technically lap 3 by the ticker, but lap 2 under racing conditions, from that point on, they have to be in the top 3. And everyone is mandated to make at least 1 stop, simply because your fuel and tires will not make it to the end. So we could see several drivers trying to go way, way farther on fuel and tires than they normally would be used to doing. So definitely going to be worth keeping an eye on that. 10 drivers here at Francorchamps. In the very first season of the IESC Championship, Spa was a mid-season race with about race 12 in a 20-race season. A very chaotic, wild event, multiple big accidents, a gigantic flip by a Lamborghini coming uphill at one point as well. An incident between Lud1cr0us Speed and Chummy18 in the last lap saw both of them drop down the order and gave an unexpected win to, I believe it was PM221 in that scenario. So yeah, we've had a lot of interesting history here. Multi-class races here has also been held back in the first season of multi-class that IESC did. But for an actual points-paying GT race, it's only the second time to come here. Also, this is the first time in the GT category that there's been an actual championship fight since that very first IESC GT season. Now, in that scenario, the season wrapped up at Nürburgring Nordschleife in a 10-lap race there between SRD Shredder, Lud1cr0us Speed, PM221, and Coco Gamer 11. That championship was decided by a last-lap overtake by Lud1cr0us Speed against PM221 for the victory in that race. Not likely going to see the exact same scenario here, but it is likely we're going to see this championship fight go down to the very end of today's event. Again, MabeyRacing really needs to bring home a great solid run so he can jump back ahead of NFL Racer and take back the 7th place in points position. MabeyRacing has been fighting with the likes of Ludicrous Speed, U5, NFL Racer. You know, there's been a really long draw fight. Missed the last race. That's really hurt Mabey's position to defend. That's let NFL Racer, who's not been nearly as strong over the last few weeks, his performance has really dropped off, but he's been showing up. So keep an eye on that fight as well. And again, the moment we take the green flag, the fight for 3rd and the fight for 5th in the championship will basically be automatically finished at that point. So the fight for 1st and the fight for 7th in points is going to be what it comes down to. Here they are at the bottommost part of the circuit, and the field will start doubling up here shortly. ScoredBuffalo has the pole throughout the first 2/3 of the season. Closer to the first half of the season, we said, oh, Buffalo's horrible on starts and restarts. He always seems to choke. He's turned that around. His starts and restart form of the last 4 races have been amazing. He has been incredibly good on starts and restarts. Lucky has not got the pole position. He's got to be on the outside coming into a very tight turn. It's going to be very difficult for Lucky. He needs to try and be there with Scored and has to get ahead of Scored. The other thing, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, we don't know if Lucky or Scored will be able to make it to the end of this race on just one stop because they have no tuning on their fuel and the tires, so the cars are not going to be running very efficient in either scenario. We also don't know how well their cars are going to handle going up to the Al Rouge and Radion complex either. Field doubled up as they go through the final chicane. It'll be a 32-lap race around Spa-Francorchamps. 10 cars, a championship on the line, potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially a 3rd different winner this season. As they come down, the green flag is in the air, and we are underway for the final race of the IESC season. Right away, TBF Matter is making it 3 wide. TNR Horizon is trying to make it 3 wide as well, and Buffalo immediately goes to the top. Here comes Lucky on the outside. There's a BMW in the back that's going around. That is Shredder, but it's a drag race for the top position. Lucky is ahead, and Lucky is pulling the superior straight line speed of the Bentley. It's got to let him get ahead, but he has a bit of a hiccup coming in to the corners. Now to the top of the hill. Lucky just barely holding the head. ScoredBuffalo nose to tail for a top 2 as they go down the back straightaway, and MabeyRacing is right behind. There's 2 BMWs chasing a Bentley as they go down the back straightaway here, but Lucky is going to take that 2nd position and turn it into a lead. He has a lead, and now here comes MabeyRacing, but Mabey has a bit of a slide. Can't keep up through the braking zone. ScoredBuffalo falls in line right behind Lucky for the moment. Now they start running downhill. Your championship contenders at the front. If they finish where they are now, Lucky would win the championship. Simple as. Lucky needs to finish ahead of Scored. Scored needs to finish ahead of Lucky. That's all it comes down to. All right, as they continue to blitz the circuit, we see that Bentley get a tire into the dirt there, running downhill and out into this double left-hand corner. Big, lots of runoff on the outside. Buffalo so much faster through the corners, he just plants it. Bumper right onto the rear wing of Lucky's machine. Lucky is really struggling, you can tell, in some of these corners, really twitching, sliding around, but Buffalo is trying to figure out an alternate line out of some of these corners so he can negate some of Lucky's straight line advantage that he has coming out of the corner. That's been the #1 strength of the Bentley most of this season. The Bentley has amazing acceleration out of the corner. That means that in a driver-on-driver fight, we do expect that Lucky should have the advantage. And MabeyRacing continues to run right there in the tire tracks of ScoredBuffalo. Scored has actually lost touch a little bit with Lucky. MabeyRacing trying to make something happen here. TNR Horizon is back there in 4th. Sunshine has fallen all the way to 6th. And Shredder has already made his way back up into 5th position. Lucky breaks into the corner and Buffalo pulls right back behind him into the braking zone. But again, the moment they come out of a corner, Lucky's acceleration lets him peel away from the BMW without issue. There's a fight for 3rd between MabeyRacing and TNR Horizon at the moment. So at this stage in the race, 1 lap in the books, but it's the end of lap 2 where it all comes down to play for those extra 12, or in the case of our 2 leaders, 18 bonus points. Lucky and Buffalo are doing everything right at the moment. Gap's about 0.3 of a second right now. MabeyRacing continues to run in 3rd, running incredibly strong, all things considered, and TNR Horizon is actually under threat from SRD Shredder. MrSunshine has fallen all the way back to 6th. We honestly anticipated Sunshine to be running better than this. This is not where we thought he would be. But BMWs hold 3 of your top 5 positions right now. NFL Racer is buried back there in 9th, while MabeyRacing is running in 3rd right now. So MabeyRacing is doing just about everything right to try and bring home 7th in the Drivers' Championship. At the front, ScoredBuffalo continues to stay tucked right behind that Bentley. Coming down into the lowest points of the track. A series of right, left, 90-degree corners. The BMW is going to try and go around the outside of the Bentley. The Bentley being left with an unideal line, but the acceleration will let him hold the position. But the BMW will still be there in the next set of corners. A little bit of sideways movement from both of them, and it brings MabeyRacing right back into the fray. Buffalo has a great run out of the corner, but again, Lucky's Bentley has a superior straight line speed advantage and is trying to use that to only keep Buffalo behind him, not let him get alongside. Perfect draft right now for the BMW. A bit of a twitch as they go through the curb. SRD Shredder had a big twitch. Now here comes Buffalo around the outside of the Bentley. The Bentley trying to defend for everyone's life. We saw these two fighting even just about this aggressively at Catalunya. Now we see it in a scenario where neither of these drivers are in cars that really play to their strengths necessarily. Again, Lucky accelerates out of the corner, and Buffalo sucks right back in the corner. And MabeyRacing falls a little bit behind again. So MabeyRacing just does not seem to have what it takes to actually make anything happen against our top 2 drivers. As our leaders go through Al Rouge and Radion once again, we ride on board with MabeyRacing. Big sideways moment, just not comfortable at all with that BMW, it seems, going over the Al Rouge and Radion complex. And you can watch the leaders up ahead fighting. Lucky has a straight line speed advantage. Buffalo has the cornering ability. The other thing is that these drivers will have stock brakes, so they will not be able to go nearly as deep into the braking zones as everyone behind them. And you see it's under the brakes that MabeyRacing comes right back in. And we have a caution. We are under the yellow flag. And I don't think anyone anticipated this, but for the first time this season, since Watkins Glen, we have a yellow flag. We have gone 6 straight, no, I'm sorry, not 6. Yeah, we have gone 8 straight races with no yellow flags, and now we are back to it. But there's no real change at the front. Your top 3 drivers are the same that they've been this entire period. And the drivers involved, I'm guessing, were Prius Killer and ACR Snake. ACR Snake trying to just bring home any extra points that he can to try and make something happen of this. Prius Killer in 9th there. And then MrSunshine, he's fallen all the way back to 8th. So for Sunshine, it's been an absolute horrendous event. He's got to be happy that there's just not been a whole lot of people showing up. Also, I want to give credit to TBF Matter. Matter runs right behind NFL Racer. If things go his way, he might be able to clip NFL Racer for 8th in overall drivers' points. Considering that a few weeks ago, we were asking, would he even make the top 10? 8th would be incredibly impressive, and it's one of the reasons why. One of the best things you can do is just stick around and run as many races as you can. That seems to be the big thing that's going to turn this race around, I believe. Well, turn the season around for him, that is. All right, so long period under the yellow flag. The other thing that this yellow flag will do, it will let everyone extend their fuel and their tire wear. And for LuckyVII and ScoredBuffalo, big help for them, because this means that they should not have to worry about running out of fuel or tires. This extra, about 2/3 of a lap, is really going to help them conserve fuel. So I don't think that will be an issue. Regrettably, we did not get any word as to what happened in that scenario. My guess is it would have been a multi-car accident in the Al Rouge and Radion complex near the back of the grid. All right, is anyone going to come to the pits? It would be kind of silly to pit now, but it does happen sometimes. All right, nope, nothing. So we come to the green flag. Only 1 lap under yellow, not even really a full lap under yellow, and Lucky immediately pulls away without issue. Our top 3 stay nose to tail And Lucky accelerates out without problem. Shredder runs really wide, and there's another BMW. I think that's NFL Racer who's gone sideways in the back of the grid there. Is that NFL Racer? It was NFL Racer, so not a good run for NFL Racer. As our top three now rush their way up to the RZM Radion complex and onto the long back straightaway. There's been another car involved in an instant. Who is that? That's TBF Matter. So ACR Snake now moves up into 7th position as well over a Prius Killer. Side by side, Buffalo outside, Lucky inside. Lucky holds the position, but Buffalo keeps fighting. It's not over yet. They're still side by side. Buffalo's trying to make an outside line pass work, and MabeyRacing is now faster than both of them. He runs to the inside of ScoredBuffalo. He'll back out, doesn't want to make it 3 wide into the following corner. Lucky so sideways, and Buffalo, he's not in a great car either, but that car is so much better in the corners that he is hounding Lucky on the outside of these corners. And now out of the corner as the run downhill will be a double left-hander as we continue to ride on board with MabeyRacing. Look behind, you can see TNR Horizon putting pressure on Mabey. But Mabey is in for what would probably be the best driver of the season. Oh, big twitch by Lucky. It's going to squeeze ScoredBuffalo to an extreme outside. Lucky's going to be outside. ScoredBuffalo's going to be on the inside. Lucky dives out at the last moment to try and cut Buffalo off, but the car doesn't have the ability to hold it. Lucky is sideways. Now Mabey hits Lucky. And he can drag race out into the next pair of right-hand corners. Buffalo has the inside. Lucky has the outside. Lucky squeezes the BMW as much as he can. Come to another right-hand corner. The acceleration advantage will go in Lucky's favor, but Buffalo is looking incredibly racy. MabeyRacing now pushing Buffalo, trying to give him a bit of a shove to get him up there to fight Lucky again. Into this high-speed bend here. BMW, we know, will handle a bit better through that corner than the Bentley. Oh, and Mabey's around. Boy, is Mabey around. Turned by TNR Horizon. And that will drop MabeyRacing to 8th. And MrSunshine now moves up into the 3rd position. But this fight for the win is not over. Buffalo had got pole, but Lucky outran him to turn 1 with the superior acceleration. But that seems to be the only thing that Bentley has, because Buffalo closes right back in basically every single corner. We stay green, but for MabeyRacing, this is horrible news. And this is great news for NFL Racer, who's still in 8th right now, ahead of MabeyRacing and TBF Matter, his rivals in the points. 7/10 of a second is the gap between Lucky and Buffalo. Now opens up to 8/10. Sunshine in 3rd. This is the best he's been all season long as Shredder and TNR Horizon are fighting it out there for 4th. Now Shredder looks to the inside. Sunshine side by side for a 3rd position. Horizon is there. Horizon wants to make it a 3-wide fight, but he's going to back out because there's just not enough room. They're still on top of it. Shredder pushing Sunshine to the outside. Acceleration. Shredder, who runs a special setup with a big straight line speed focus for a Shredder, is going to move him up into the 3rd position. Sunshine can't do anything to Shredder at the moment. And your leaders continue to walk away from the rest of the field. ACR Snake is up in 6th position at the moment, but Shredder is on for a strong run, but Shredder runs incredibly wide through the corner. Sunshine does a move. Shredder ends up losing control, trying to get back onto the circuit, goes through the grass, and now Sunshine gets back ahead of Shredder. And now Horizon gets under Shredder and tries to push the BMW wide. He does. Shredder now falls back to 4th, but Horizon could not complete the pass, but it's going to back ACR Snake into the fray as well. Meanwhile, at the front of the field is Lucky versus Buffalo. Lucky seems to have a significant advantage in the first sector of the circuit, but Buffalo seems to claw it back in sectors 2 and 3. Under braking, going into the final chicane once again. Lucky and Buffalo taking wildly different lines, both trying to maximize the strengths of their cars. Lucky again out-accelerates without issue. Buffalo is not going to be able to make an overtake stick through that chicane. It's just not going to happen. He needs to make it happen through one of the corners in Sector 2. As they accelerate downhill now, Lucky is likely going to open it up to about a 7/10, maybe even 8/10 second gap before they break going into the RZM Radion complex. Buffalo it doesn't actually fluctuate their gap very much, it seems. Now we see Buffalo close it down to about half a second. Straight line speed advantage does go in Lucky's favor, but Buffalo carries more speed out of the Al Rouge Radion complex. Shredder moves back into third again. This trio will not stop. Shredder has completed the pass on Sunshine this time. And he's all sideways out of the corner. Now Sunshine comes around. The outside will try and cross over. Shredder blocks the position. And Horizon is there, trying to make something happen. They stay nose to tail again. Oh, Shredder gets turned by Sunshine going into the corner. He just barely keeps it out of the wall, but that will drop Shredder likely back to 5th position. Meanwhile, we're 1st and 2nd. Again, this sector here, Sector 2, is the strongest that Buffalo is compared to Lucky. Buffalo looks to the outside again. Lucky holding an extreme inside line. Lucky's just trying to do everything he can to deny Buffalo any line that he chooses. And now they come into Sector 3. These cars are a little bit more even in Sector 3. Sunshine up into 3rd. Shredder gets back by TNR Horizon for 4th, now loses it again. MabeyRacing has climbed back up into 7th position. I think Mabey's quest for maybe winning this race is basically out of it. Even with no tuning, Lucky and ScoredBuffalo faster than the rest of the field, and it's not even close. Real quickly, we look at the telemetry. Lucky's only gone through about 30% of his fuel at this point of the race. ScoredBuffalo has gone through a little bit less than that, about 29% right now. So this duo is even when it comes to fuel. What about tire wear? 26% for ScoredBuffalo. For Lucky, he's looking at 27%. So they're even on tire wear as well, it would appear. So that may mean that we could be looking at a scenario where it just has to be driver versus driver. These two may end up pitting at about the same point in the race. The big wild card, the big thing that may shake things up for them, though, is trying to go for those extra 18 points for staying in the top 3 all race long. They need the drivers behind them to pit before they do, and I don't know if that's going to happen. TNR Horizon fighting with MrSunshine for 3rd, as Shredder has fallen out of this battle for the moment. Sunshine slides in front of Horizon. Horizon outside of Sunshine. Horizon really pinches Sunshine onto the curbs, and those rumble strips really do not play well with the Porsche. Horizon will have the inside line to the following corner, but Sunshine pays a favor back, really cuts him all the way down, gives him only about half a car width of circuit. And that will give Sunshine 3rd for just a moment longer. ACR Snake has dropped out of this race, so he will not finish any better than 10th. He will withdraw from the event, so we're down to just 9 drivers now. At the front, the gap, 0.3 seconds right now. Buffalo is within drafting range of Lucky. But Lucky's acceleration will let him maintain the gap at about 0.3 to 0.4 of a second. Now through this high-speed bend, we'll likely see Buffalo close it back in a bit because the Bentley just does not have the handling to hold it through that high-speed bend while the BMW does. But again, you can't really make a move work on this Bentley through the final chicane because the Bentley will outpull you. Doesn't matter if you're inside or outside. So again, the duo comes into the first quarter. Now the run downhill. This is where Lucky opens up the gap to the biggest it can get, typically, in Sector 1, and then Buffalo winds it all back in Sector 2. Buffalo may have just hit the wall, and that would have killed his momentum, would not help him one bit, but you can see how much Lucky struggles in the Al Rouge and Radion corners. Buffalo has a huge run on Lucky this time. My goodness, does he have a run? He's there. Could this be the move? He looks to the outside as Lucky defends the inside. Hell, into the heavy braking zone. Who's it gonna be? Buffalo has his nose ahead. Pinches Lucky down, side by side through the corners. Lucky gets a little bit sideways. Lucky is wide, and Buffalo goes back to the top. It's taken 9 laps, but Buffalo gets by Lucky. And now they enter into Sector 2, which is a sector of the circuit where the BMW is stronger. Run downhill once again. And Buffalo, ahead of Lucky, leading laps. We have not seen this since Catalunya. Lucky has been ahead of Buffalo, leading laps for basically every race since Catalunya. I'm not saying it's going to be the way it's going to stand, but right now, Buffalo in Sector 2 is opening up the gap. It's at 0.8 seconds, now 0.9 seconds. NFL Racer actually has the best lap of the race right now, interestingly enough, according to what the game's telemetry says. Farther back, the fight for third. Sunshine seems to have stabilized, and Horizon is trying to keep SRD Shredder behind. Shredder showing off some real aggressiveness today. MabeyRacing has worked his way up into 6th right now. I do think that overall, Mabey is the fastest driver on track. Shredder is just, whatever step Shredder has, he says that keeps him from losing control of the car. I'm not so sure. That thing is sliding and has no grip in any corner, it would seem. So now, everyone's running downhill. Oh, there's an incident at the front. They're fighting at the front. I missed this, but somehow Scored has lost ground to Lucky. Lucky has come back. So Sector 1 is so strong for the Bentley that it's coming back now on the back straightaway. Lucky has the inside on Scored. Side by side. Scored may have touched the grass. They get into each other. Buffalo is sideways, and Lucky is going to come around the outside. Lucky is going to try and make it stick. Buffalo on the outside squeezes Lucky. Lucky squeezes Buffalo into the outside dirt. They're drag racing to the next corner now. Lucky has the inside line, but Scored is so much better through any corner. But Lucky's acceleration out will be enough to give him the spot back. So Sector 1 is very decisively in Lucky's favor. So Scored had nearly a 1 second gap over the Bentley, but that was not enough. Lucky holding station over Buffalo for the moment. Buffalo's got by him once, but now he's going to have to figure out a way to get by him again. And not only get by him, now he needs to figure out a way to make sure that that Bentley can't outrun him into a corner. Buffalo really squeezes Lucky, and now Lucky chucks Buffalo into the dirt. No, he didn't actually. I take that back. That was wrong. He did not chuck Buffalo into the dirt. Sure, I thought he was going to, but he did not. So we're back to where we were 2 laps ago. Through the high-speed bend and now into the chicane once again. Lucky defending inside. Buffalo shoots to the outside again. Buffalo trying the crossover. Lucky just denies Buffalo the line out of the corner and then will use his superior acceleration to run away from the BMW. Again, Sector 1 is very decisively in Lucky's favor. Sector 2 is very decisively in Buffalo's favor. Sector 3 is a little bit closer. I think Buffalo has a slight advantage, but I do mean slight, through Sector 3. Sector 1 basically ends at the end of the back straightaway. Sector 2 ends just before they enter the high-speed corner, the medium-speed double right-hander. 0.6 is the gap right now. And while Buffalo can close on Lucky a bit in the straight line, simply because he can peel more speed out of the Al Rouge Radion corners, it really doesn't mean anything because Lucky builds up so much more of an advantage just coming out of the final corner, coming out of turn 1, that Buffalo overall loses time. This sector, Sector 2, is where Buffalo gains it all, though. Both Lucky and Buffalo were a little bit sideways going into that corner. Kind of chased it a bit too much now through the no-name corner. Buffalo in the dirt just trying to keep up with Lucky. Buffalo has led the championship all season long, but if they were to finish where they are right now, Lucky would steal the title back after missing the first race of the season. Lucky holds the inside. Buffalo shoots outside, trying to give himself a big run out of the following corners. Lucky a little bit wide. Buffalo is there, but again, Lucky's acceleration means that as long as his corner exit isn't god-awful, he will by default beat Buffalo in the initial acceleration out of every corner. And now the gap's at 5/10, is the biggest it's been for a while. So Buffalo maybe closing it down, might be able to walk it in just a little bit. Lucky's ahead. Lucky going to defend the inside again, I imagine. No, Lucky defends the outside, basically gives Buffalo no room going through the final chicane this time. But Buffalo's far enough back that it didn't really compromise him. They stay even with each other once more. And Prius Killer may have had an instant. He has fallen to 7th now as MabeyRacing finally recovers to 6th. ScoredBuffalo trying to keep pace with Lucky running downhill and now out of the Al Rouge and Radeon complex. Again, the BMW is faster through those corners, but Lucky builds up a massive gap coming out of turn 1. That's unlikely that Buffalo can actually do anything with him. This is not only the fight for the win, but the fight for this championship. And I said we might see a new driver win today's race. That just does not look like it's going to happen unless these two have an accident. This is going to be it. These two drivers are going to sweep this entire season. It just comes down to that. Now, it's not helped that TNR Horizon, MabeyRacing, MrSunshine, they've been fighting so long amongst each other that they've not been able to put down clean laps to keep up with this duo. MabeyRacing honestly had kept up with them, but was not but he had several attempts, honestly, to get alongside them, but did not push the issue. And that ended up getting Mabey turned. Alright, now to the lowest parts of the circuit. Again, Lucky defends inside. Buffalo goes to the outside once more. This should give him the ideal acceleration out of this corner. And yes, he'll complete the overtake! So Buffalo back ahead of Lucky now. But Lucky will have the acceleration out of the corner. And they are going to come up to the final chicane where Lucky has a big advantage out against Buffalo. Alright, Lucky runs right behind Buffalo once again. Lucky is right there, a 1/10 of a second behind, and using the draft to stay in touch. The Bentley slides a little bit wide under the high-speed corners, just does not have that high-speed grip, and under braking, Buffalo briefly extends the lead, but it closes right back up, and now out of the final corner. Buffalo trying to defend the inside, so Lucky will have to go to the outside. That's exactly what he does. Lucky to the outside of Buffalo now. So Lucky actually was ahead at the end of that lap. Buffalo inside, Lucky outside. Drag race, and Lucky is pulling ahead. Lucky has the position back. But it's not by half a second, it's only by about a 1/10 of a second. And now Al Rouge and Radeon, Buffalo's been faster. Drag race down the back straightaway again. Buffalo inside, Lucky outside. The Bentley has the superior straight line speed, but I think Buffalo will still outrun the Bentley into the corner. Oh, Lucky cuts Buffalo right into the dirt, and Buffalo fights back irregardless. He still is on the inside through the following corner as well. Another drag race out, but again, Lucky has the position. I have no doubt that over a lap, Buffalo is faster. But Lucky's acceleration means that in a fight on track, Lucky has the advantage over Buffalo. If these two are running alone on circuit, I believe that Buffalo would open up a gap. But as long as these two are together, Lucky is going to continue to hold station over Buffalo. Just because Lucky is so much better into the corners, and Lucky is being a little bit more aggressive than Buffalo, chopping down and pushing Buffalo off the circuit many times over. We're a little bit more than a third of the way through this race. Not yet to the halfway point, though. TNR Horizon is in third position, has broken away from the rest of the field. But this here, the championship fight, is where everyone's eyes are at right now. Lucky holds station over Buffalo, but Buffalo is right there within a tenth of a second. These are the corners that he does better than Lucky in. Again, we see the Bentley defending the inside, so Buffalo is forced to go outside. Bit of a lockup there from the Bentley. Buffalo holding it side by side through the corner. Kind of hip checks Lucky, but gets himself sideways in the process. And now Lucky will accelerate back out of the corner without issue. Buffalo has no answer for the acceleration of the Bentley. And we'll see the gap open up again on this run downhill. Prius Killer is going to pit from 8th position. Buffalo closing the gap down to 0.3 this time. He's got a draft off of Lucky. Lucky defends the inside. Buffalo is going to go to the outside. No, he crosses him over. He goes to the inside. But we've seen him do this before, and Lucky squeezes him into the dirt. He did it again. Lucky squeezes Buffalo into the dirt. Buffalo holds station, and he's actually ahead going into the following corner. Now Lucky crosses over coming out. He'll have the acceleration. He's going to try and outrun Buffalo to the following corner. Can't make it happen. Yes, he can. He'll get his nose in there. He'll force Buffalo offline. And we'll use his acceleration. He's on the outside, but he's just throwing the car into the corners and basically physically moving Buffalo out of the way in every corner now. And if this keeps up, he'll likely turn Buffalo. Buffalo inside, Lucky outside. Now it crosses over into the following corner. Buffalo easily has the line coming through this corner. Lucky will out-accelerate on the run to the next corner. Will he throw his nose to the inside again and try and knock Buffalo offline? No. This time he just stays in line behind the BMW. Again, Lucky knows that while the BMW is a little bit faster than him in Sector 3, the draft will work in his favor. That means they'll stay right behind Buffalo and can out-drag him as they come out of the final corner. Buffalo has technically only led a single lap. What in the devil, Buffalo? He's went into the dirt that time. And Lucky backed out so he wouldn't hit him. All right, 0.6 is the gap, but Lucky accelerates out of that chicane very well. But he's not close enough to really do anything this time. Buffalo holding station. Lucky runs right behind. 0.7 for briefest of moments. But Lucky again out-accelerates through turn 1. He's going to try and run down the BMW. He's not going to be able to beat him through Al Rouge and Radion this time. So Lucky's going to have to deal with some arrow wash this time through. He gets into the dirt, but he makes a really nice straight line. He's going to try and use the draft to get by Buffalo. He's within Buffalo's draft as they go down the back straightaway. Does he make a move to the inside? He is closing, but slowly. He breaks late. Boy, does he dive. Man, he sent it. He turned him. And Buffalo's into the wall. And they're both into it. Lucky hits Buffalo. Our leaders are into an instant. And here comes TNR Horizon. And Horizon's got to throw up. And he's going to jump to the inside. And then Horizon's into the fray for the lead. And that's bad news for this duo. Because now Horizon, who is in a properly tuned car, is in a position to fight for a win. He squeezes Buffalo to the outside. Buffalo held position, and Lucky did back out when he saw Buffalo got turned. So it was not out of malice, but now Lucky knows where the limits are. And it's the inverse of what we saw happen with these two back at Catalunya. At Catalunya, it was Buffalo who ended up turning Lucky early in the race. They both backed out of it and then kept going. Now Buffalo's gotten back by TNR Horizon. And Horizon will fall back to third now. I don't know if Horizon just doesn't want any part of this championship fight or what, but it seems like Horizon is not going to keep pace for the moment. The bad news, though, in this scenario is with that instant, Buffalo and Horizon are in a position where their quest to try and be in the top 3 at the end of every lap through the end of this race is now in significant jeopardy. If enough drivers farther back just stay out on circuit longer than this duo does, they could be at serious risk. They both lost over 6 seconds in that little scuffle, and it's not over yet. Buffalo is 1.1 seconds ahead of Horizon at the moment, but Lucky only 0.3. Lap 16, really lap 15. The first lap doesn't really count because it was a pace lap. Big lockup. Lucky gets right into Buffalo's rear bumper. And now out of the final corner, the first corner. Again, Lucky has a massive acceleration advantage. I anticipate that he's going to get alongside, if not ahead, of the BMW. Buffalo is defending with everything he can, though. Lucky trying to stay in line so he can get a toe out of the corner and down the straight. He's going to have it. Buffalo defends the inside. Now Lucky is on the outside. And Lucky should be able to out-accelerate Buffalo into this corner without issue. And Horizon's only 0.6 back into the corner. Again, Lucky squeezes Buffalo into the dirt. But Buffalo, even with getting squeezed through, is still so much better through these corners. And Buffalo accelerates out. Horizon. 3rd place in the championship is out of contention for him, but he might be able to steal a win, but he'll have to fight these drivers and get by them. And I don't know if he really wants to. Lucky has a really bad run through the no-name corner, so that will cause the gap between your leaders to open up a hair. MabeyRacing is up into the 4th position and running solo, so Mabey could try and get 3rd position back. And Mabey, who wants to get back into 7th in overall points, with NFL Racer buried down right now in 5th, it's not likely going to happen because NFL Racer is having, honestly, a pretty strong run as well. TNR Horizon is there. You can see this duo. And he was ahead for a moment, but did not lead at the line. A wild card, of course, is going to be those 18 points right now. Lucky is the one at more jeopardy than Buffalo is, but both of them could be at significant risk here. And we don't know when those top 2 drivers are going to make their stops. I did get a talk with Buffalo before the race, and Buffalo's going to pit. And Buffalo pitting, this is it then. Buffalo is going to throw away his chance at being in the top 3 for the entire race. So Buffalo is going to not go for those points. So Lucky now is going to run some laps in clean air all by himself. You look at the telemetry, 26% fuel, but Lucky may be more tire limited, 67% in the tires. And the other thing is that Lucky may have to deal with Horizon, because Horizon is just going to be simply better overall over the entire circuit. In the straights, that car's going to be better set up gearing-wise. In the corner, the car will have better handling. Lucky may have to deal with Horizon here. And Buffalo, where is he? Well, he's out of the points because MabeyRacing was close enough that he was in 3rd at the line. But Buffalo is now running in clean air. There's nobody pressuring him at the moment. Thing is, Lucky is actually opening the gap on TNR Horizon right now. So Horizon is likely not going to actually factor in, because while Horizon is faster in a straight line, it just does not matter. Despite having no tuning work done on that car, Lucky is so much better in the corners somehow. And Buffalo's even better than that. But yeah, Buffalo can run some laps now in clean air. He does not have to worry about being pressured by other cars on the track. Lucky, though, if he pits now, he also will lose those 18 points, and Lucky and Buffalo will go right back to where they were. 4th place at the moment is MrSunshine, a ways back, but not so far back that Lucky would be able to stay in the top 3. at the end of the following lap. I think if he pitted now, I think he would still be top 3 at the end of this lap. But I think Sunshine would be far enough ahead, it wouldn't matter. Does Lucky pit now? No, Lucky's going to stay out another lap. Maybe now. Pits out 3rd. Oh, this could be bad news, though, for Buffalo, because now Lucky could be in a position where when he pits, he might be ahead and stay in the top 3 positions. So Lucky could have those 18 bonus points. And if it comes down to an 18-point swing, Buffalo, if he wins, he would... Yeah, if Buffalo wins, he would earn 300 points, and Lucky would earn 270 points, but then Lucky gained those 18 extra points would bring him up to 288 points. So Buffalo would still need to finish in first to win. But if it was second, if somehow Buffalo finished second and Lucky was 3rd, let's say that Horizon pulls off the victory here, Lucky would end up with 170 times 1.5. He would end up with 260 points, I believe. 265. He would end up with 265 points. With 18 more, that would be 283. While Buffalo would only be able to come home with 270. So yeah, as it is right now, we could be looking at a scenario where Lucky might bring home 18 extra points. But that would still likely put us in a scenario where whoever's ahead of the other would win, because Lucky is not losing ground to Horizon. He is actually pulling on Horizon. I will say this, I never want to hear Lucky ever complain again about circumstances not being in his favor. With no tuning, he is the 2nd fastest driver on track, and no one else is able to keep pace with him. I never want to hear this man complain ever again about a circumstance in qualifying not being ideal or being raced hard in the race. When you are this much faster, you do not have the right to complain about things not going your way. I don't care how European you are. And Lucky finally will make his stop, so this is the wild card. Lucky in the pits, and Horizon's pitting with him. So this basically guarantees Lucky that he will have those 18 extra points. So again, right now, if Lucky finishes 2nd and Buffalo wins, Lucky will walk home with 288 points, but Buffalo would have 300. If it goes the other way, though, Lucky ahead of Buffalo, Lucky still wins the championship. So fundamentally, this doesn't really change anything at the front of the field. And there goes ScoredBuffalo by the start-finish line. And Buffalo has the run out of the first corner hairpin, and has a 1 second gap, 1.1 second gap over Lucky, and Lucky needs to get his tires warm. Be careful through the Al Rouge and Radion complex. The gap is 1.2 seconds right now. This is one of the biggest gaps it's been for a while. But Buffalo is ahead of Lucky, a little bit past the halfway point of the event. Horizon runs 3rd. I have to wonder if Horizon may willingly not fight for this win and may just try to help Lucky. And if he figures the best way to help Lucky is to just not fight, that may be all it comes down to. Horizon's 3rd, maybe is 4th. SRD Shredder is 5th. Then Sunshine, Prius Killer, NFL Racer. These 3 are all in a bit of a fight right now for 6th, 7th, and 8th. We'll just focus on this fight for just a bit here. Right on board with NFL Racer. Running behind Prius Killer and MrSunshine. TBF Matter is 33 seconds behind this group, though. So, unless something crazy happens, NFL Racer will not finish any worse than 8th. MabeyRacing in 4th. That's not going to be enough. NFL Racer would still hold the position. It needs to be a 60-point swing in MabeyRacing's favor. And while I do think that MabeyRacing is one of the faster drivers on the track, I don't know if MabeyRacing will be able to get by TNR Horizon. We saw Horizon turn him accidentally, but did turn him earlier. So we know that those two would have a spirited fight, and I think that would be enough to keep MabeyRacing from potentially factoring in to this race win. Gap is 1.5 seconds at the front at the moment. Prius defending. NFL Racer just kind of running the draft. NFL Racer's in a BMW, the same setup that MabeyRacing has. Big twitch by the Porsche farther up. But NFL Racer's in the same setup that MabeyRacing runs. So the car is better in the corners, while Prius is a little bit better coming out of the corners. It's like a less extreme version of what we see at the fight at the front. MrSunshine there in 6 kind of randomizes it all as well. MabeyRacing is 3 seconds out from TNR Horizon at the moment, and Horizon is about 1.8 seconds away from Lucky. Lucky runs 1.3 seconds behind your current race leader, ScoredBuffalo. So this fight at the front of the field has calmed down. Lucky will get those 18 bonus points. But as it stands right now, Buffalo would leave here with 300 points. Lucky would leave here with 288 points. So Buffalo would hold his championship lead. Again, 9 points was the gap between them coming into this race. Buffalo would open that to 21 points in that scenario. But they would have to finish in the order that they are in right now. Buffalo pitted a lot earlier than Lucky, so that's one other thing to consider. We know that Lucky's tires will be a lot smoother than Buffalo's to the end of this race, which was a similar circumstance that we saw at Catalunya, although Catalunya is a much shorter circuit, so the difference wasn't quite as pronounced there. The difference will be a lot more pronounced there, so we know that Lucky can be really aggressive with his tires to the end. But right now, Lucky and Buffalo just need to turn as many perfect laps as they can. We see that Lucky's so much better coming out of these corners. But in the corners themselves, Buffalo seems to be better. A little bit of a fight going on back there for 7th and 8th as NFL Racer and Prius Killer are in it. NFL Racer goes around the outside of Prius, chops down him, and he'll move back up into 7th now. And while these two are fighting, is letting MrSunshine scoot away just a little bit. NFL Racer really bad over the curbs, though. And Prius out-accelerates him. He'll go on the outside on the run down to turn 1, though. And will clear him. But NFL Racer dives under braking, hugs that inside. Prius will out-accelerate again, coming out of turn 1, though. Will he try and outrun the BMW into the Al Rouge Radeon complex? You don't want to go side-by-side through these corners if you can help it, especially with how wide these GT3 Kiars are. And no, it looks like the advantage will be in NFL Racer's hands. So we had a yellow flag early in the event, but it seems like that's not had too much of an impact on this race, honestly. At the front, the gap is 1.3 seconds, so Lucky is doing his best to whittle it down just a bit. He has come off of 6 straight victories, but has shown a little bit of mental instability, a little bit of mental weakness, losing his cool in events that happened at qualifying at Monza and the first lap at Monza. May have a little bit of the same issues here. But we've seen this before where Lucky's been in some really adverse scenarios and bounces back within that same race. It's not like something bad happens and he's weak to it and mentally vulnerable to it for the entire rest of the day and the next several weeks. He bounces back sometimes in the same race that he has an instant happen in. Buffalo continues to lead. Lucky second. TNR Horizon runs 2.4 seconds behind. And MabeyRacing is now within 2 seconds of TNR Horizon, fighting for what could be their best finish of the season, 3rd. Real quickly, I want to check out what the best laps have been for the entire field here. 2:17.2 for Buffalo, 2:17.1 for Lucky. So Lucky is actually faster under ideal circumstances, it would appear. The gap is at 1.2 seconds. Now 1.1 seconds. I think that Lucky is actually whittling down into Buffalo just a bit. Running in clean air, not really slugging it out. Lucky is starting to close the gap back down. And that could be very bad news for Buffalo. In the first half of this race, Lucky seemed like the stronger guy. In this bit, I think they're about even. Buffalo has the advantage in the corners, but Lucky, if he catches him in any corner exit, he's going to blitz the BMW. .4 seconds. I've seen the gap open up to about 1.6 in the last few laps through this section. It's at 1.5 right now, and then Lucky starts whittling it down. I think Lucky may have figured out a way to go through Sector 3 a little bit more efficiently at this stage of the race, so he's not losing as much time to Buffalo. And now this is where Lucky closes in the most. There may be a fight for third about to develop as well. The other concern that Buffalo's going to have is that if Lucky catches his draft in a straight line, that Bentley could have an amazing run coming in to the end of the Camel Straight. All right, it's 1.4 seconds here. 1.3. But Lucky does not seem to be closing it this time. TNR Horizon holding station over MabeyRacing at the moment. Mabey is within 1.3 seconds of the Aston. Shredder runs in fifth. I just want to go ahead and throw this out there just for consideration. BMWs have three of the top 5 positions right now, running first, fourth, and fifth. An NFL racer is also running seventh as well. So BMW, without a doubt, is the strongest car over the course of this season. And even with the BOP making others stronger, it's just been the better car throughout the majority of the races this year. TBF Matter has withdrawn from the race. So we're down to just 8 drivers. So yeah, for MabeyRacing, I hate to say it, but I think this is over. Mabey's quest to try and get 7th place back in points is probably over with that. NFL Racers running very strong, but also is not going to finish any worse than 8th. Doesn't matter what happens here. Gap's down to about 6/10 here. Horizon is in the Aston. It's not Bentley, but they have similar strengths. They're both great in acceleration and straight line. Mabey is in a car that's better in the corners. So actually getting by Horizon is going to be a very difficult challenge, to say the least. Seven tenths is the gap for third. At the front, though, the gap, 1.2 seconds, still could close again here. Lucky can see the rear bumper of the BMW very plainly ahead of him, trying to do everything he can to close the gap down. He gets within a second this time, heading into the Al Rouge and Radeon complex, into the dirt just a little bit, straight lining Radeon as much as he can, but he still now loses time coming out of the corner. He just does not have what it takes to maintain all that extra speed. Now, when he was fighting with the BMW, it didn't matter because the draft would help him, but that's just not been the case. I do think, though, that Lucky is whittling the gap down slowly. It may just be too slow. That's going to be the wild question. Lucky touches the dirt just a bit and losing time. Sector 2 is his weakest part on the circuit here. Fight for 6, NFL Racer fighting with MrSunshine, and NFL Racer gets by. So BMWs now have 4 of the top 6 positions on track. Everyone's already done their pit stop. If you're just joining us, we had an instant in about lap 3 of this race that bunched the field up, but we've been green since. And our 2 championship contenders lead the field 1-2. Now Sunshine gets to the inside of the BMW as they go through these double lefts. NFL Racers run way off the circuit, and Sunshine gets the position back, will outrun the BMW into the following corner. But this duo here, ScoredBuffalo versus Lucky. Lucky has not finished worse than second in every race he has started. But therein lies the biggest flaw in his championship season. He did not start the first race of the season. That put him in a massive hole right off the bat that he has struggled to climb out of. For ScoredBuffalo, he has shown up to every race this season. But he has, on 2 occasions, not finished in the top 2 spots. In the second race of the season, although he crossed the line third, the last 2 laps were stricken from record. Probably an unpopular move, but they were stricken from record. So Buffalo was only credited with 4th. And then the 4th race of the season at Road America, he was not able to run to the end. So he only finished, I think, 13th, 14th in that race. So Buffalo has shown up for every race, but has been a little bit weaker compared to Lucky. Lucky trying to get himself out of a hole. And the gap is starting to close. It is down now to 8 tenths. Lucky might be able to start sniffing a draft off of Buffalo. That would be the worst case scenario for the BMW driver. If Lucky finishes ahead of Buffalo, Lucky wins the title. If Buffalo finishes ahead of Lucky, he wins the title. Horizon is a good 3 seconds out of this fight right now. And despite Lucky getting those 18 extra points, that's really not going to change the overall game coming into this race. It's just going to be whoever finishes ahead of the other. We thought more drivers would be up front and fighting with this duo. That has not happened, not in the slightest. .3 seconds is the gap. So despite closing it down by a massive amount through Sector 1 this last lap, the gap at this point of the circuit, where it's the biggest, isn't really that much different right now. There will be 8 laps to go when they hit the line. And there is still the fight for third to keep an eye on as well as this 3-car fight for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Lucky is setting times 2:17 flats, ScoredBuffalo's in 2:17 twos. So it is not over for Buffalo. Lucky is technically a faster driver at this stage in the race. Well, now it's switched. Now it's Buffalo 2:17 zeros, Lucky 2:17 twos. Farther back, this fight for the last 3 positions of the cars running on circuit. Sunshine ahead of NFL Racer, and Prius Killer runs behind both of them. You know that Prius should have the acceleration out of the corner, but this time that BMW of NFL Racer was really smooth. Sunshine didn't have a good run out of Radeon, so here comes NFL Racer and Prius Killer. They both have a run on the Porsche. NFL Racer's going to look to the outside. Prius isn't going to go for anything yet. He'll see if he can pick up the pieces once one of these two slide off circuit. Neither of them slide off circuit, but NFL Racer all sideways through the corners. Kicks the rear of the car out, and now Prius with his better acceleration will pull to the inside. Neck and neck for 7th. Prius inside, NFL Racer outside. And the BMW just better through the corners. Will cruise back through and hold on to the station. At the front, the gap. 1.1 seconds. This is getting closer. Lucky is finding time on circuit and is running down ScoredBuffalo. This is not over. And Buffalo may be at risk of Lucky getting nose alongside of him at the start-finish line. Gap's about 1.4 seconds in the apex of that chicane. But this little short straight really favors that acceleration from the bottom end that Lucky has. That's a 1 second gap, 0.9 second gap, 0.8 second gap under braking. Buffalo's smoother through the turn 1 hairpin, but again, it's another acceleration focused straight all downhill. Lucky within 9/10 of a second into Al Rouge and Radion once more now. Buffalo, I notice, is doing everything he can to try and stay within track limits. Lucky just kind of blitzes right through them. Still technically within track limits, but he is definitely pushing the issue a bit more. It's a 1 second gap, 0.9 second gap for a lead under braking. Now into Sector 2. This is where Buffalo is at his strongest. Lucky, 2:16.9 that last lap, while Buffalo is at 2:17.0. So Lucky continues to get faster and faster. .3 seconds. 1.4 now. It seems like the extremes of these cars are getting more extreme. Buffalo is just getting better and better in Sector 2 compared to Lucky, and Lucky is getting better and better in Sector 1 compared to Buffalo. It's now 1.7 seconds, so this is the biggest the gap's been. So within a single lap, we've seen from the smallest the gap's been since before the green flag stops to the biggest it's been. And overall, Horizon with a 2:17.1 actually has the fastest lap of the race thus far, as he continues to try and keep MabeyRacing behind. Maybe definitely getting a little bit cheeky with the track limits there. And then this fight for the last two positions of the cars running on circuit. NFL Racer has it, Prius wants it, and Sunshine is 1.4 seconds ahead, trying to scoot away. He wants this duo to fight a bit more so he doesn't have to worry. I think Sunshine may have a setup that requires him to back out of the throttle significantly more coming out of Radion. So going down the back straightaway, Sunshine loses a lot more straight line speed compared to this duo. NFL Racer defends the outside. Prius, is he going to make a dive to the inside in one? No, he's actually going to try and make a really aggressive line. Extreme outside, inside, outside. 2/10. Now the run back downhill. Prius Killer won't pull alongside NFL Racer. Again, you don't want to be side by side going into these corners, but he believes in his straight line speed advantage. We'll use that tuck up behind the BMW as they go down the Camel Straight. He looks to the outside. NFL Racer moves up to block. Now they both kind of move down a bit. They close in on Sunshine down the straight, but not close enough to make anything happen. And Prius immediately starts losing ground to the duo in the following corners. 2:17.0 for Buffalo, 2:17.7 for Lucky these last laps. So Lucky may have had a bit of an instant that could have compromised him. What about this fight for third, though? TNR Horizon has it. MabeyRacing wants it back. There may be a bit of bad blood between them. NFL Racer continues to try and put pressure on MrSunshine. Through Sector 3, Sunshine's a little bit stronger than the BMW, I think, but Prius has fallen off. So NFL Racer has a chance to really push the issue here. Shredder is kind of running a very lonesome race in 5th right now. Oh, big under braking. Wow, NFL Racer closed a bunch under braking that time. Oh, and he gets into him and kicks the Porsche sideways. Drag race now. The Porsche has a better initial acceleration than the BMW does, but this also will bring Prius into the fray. So these three are not done battling. And for this trio, it's not about final championship points positions. This is all for the marbles just for this position in the race. Neither of them are really going to affect their championship positions. It's all just coming down to having good, hard racing and saying, I beat the other guy. And this might be where it happens. Big accident! Oh my goodness! NFL Racer gets squeezed into the wall by Prius Killer, and TBF Matter is involved as well. A gigantic accident by the duo here. 2-car incident at the rear of the field. And now this is going to upend the entire championship fight. The field under yellow flag. And they'll be coming to the line. It'll be 4 laps to go at the line. And the field now under yellow flag. Buffalo, the gap that he had opened up over Lucky is now gone. Lucky, with that acceleration advantage, might be able to try and outrun ScoredBuffalo either into turn 1 or maybe into the RZM complex. It took Buffalo 9 laps to get by Lucky earlier in the event. He's not going to have 9 laps to do it. Buffalo, we said earlier, hey, he's really turned around his starts and restarts. He needs to do it once more. He has to be on top of it perfectly. The field very spread out right now. Top 5 have only now kind of gathered up. 6th, 7th, and 8th already are at the back of the field, so it's not really going to change things. I don't imagine we're going to see any drivers pitting. So what you have is what's going to be to the end. Sunshine finally catches up. All right, and it looks like they're going to... They forced everyone to go extremely slow just so they could restart this lap, I guess. So not quite a red flag. I would be a little bit concerned about Buffalo's tires, though. No, his tires are still in optimal range. So we're going to go green. ScoredBuffalo versus Lucky. We're going to watch Lucky because he's going to be the wild card here. Restart with 4 laps to go at Francorchamps. And we're off. Buffalo defends the inside. Lucky immediately goes to the outside. Neck and neck for position. Buffalo beats him, but now it's the run downhill into RZM. Buffalo outside, Lucky inside. Now, no, I'm sorry. Buffalo outside, Lucky inside. Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a drag race. Who's going to back out? Someone has to back out. You can't go side by side through these corners. You will cause a wreck if you do that. No wreck. They stayed it. They kept it alive. They're still side by side. And now Buffalo is not able to get away from Lucky. Lucky has the inside coming to this next corner. Horizon is there. Maybe is there. And Buffalo gets back ahead of Lucky. I didn't think they could make it side by side through those corners, but they did. But the pressure is on Max once more. Lucky runs right behind ScoredBuffalo once again. It'll be 3 laps to go when they get to the line. MabeyRacing has recovered to third, where he was earlier. Maybe could be playing wildcard upsetty spaghetti in this fight. Shredder and Horizon fall back now to MrSunshine. So the top 3 are breaking away. Big lockup by Buffalo. Lucky runs right behind the BMW. Lucky going to look to try and maybe outrun Buffalo into the following corner. Can't make it happen. He's right behind the BMW. He cuts into the dirt just a bit, gets himself and the BMW of Buffalo a little sideways. MabeyRacing is now faster than both of them. Maybe gets by Lucky. And MabeyRacing now squeaks by Lucky. Maybe on for the best finish of his season, potentially. And that's great news for ScoredBuffalo. But if Maybe gets by Buffalo, that will turn to bad news because those 18 bonus points would give the championship lead back to Lucky. Lucky gets into MabeyRacing now, going through the final chicane, and he has to get by this BMW as quickly as he can. He's going to out-accelerate MabeyRacing pretty much without issue into turn 1. Maybe gets into him just a little bit under braking, but Lucky pulls away. Buffalo has a small advantage over Lucky as Maybe touches the wall going downhill. Lucky's just 5/10 behind Buffalo. Trying to use the draft to close in, and Maybe is right there behind the Bentley as well. If Lucky can't catch, oh my goodness, here comes Maybe. He's looking at the inside of Lucky. Maybe really wants to see if he can get Maybe second. Oh, sideways is the BMW. He's right there. There's another BMW in fourth as well. That's SRD Shredder. BMW's really turning up the heat here in these last few laps. Downhill once again. Big lockup by Scored again. But Lucky is now 8/10 behind Buffalo, and he is struggling to deal with the pressure that MabeyRacing is putting on him. Throughout this season, it's been drivers like U5, MrSunshine, TNR Horizon, who we thought would put the pressure on these duo and kind of upset the championship fight. But in the end, it looks like it's going to be MabeyRacing who might be the one who has an outsized effect on the championship. Lucky can see ScoredBuffalo ahead. Once it gets to the straights, he can pull away from the BMW, but that BMW behind just closes right back in. If Lucky is under the most pressure he's probably been in all season long since Catalunya. Buffalo's opened the gap just a little bit more. Shredder is there in fourth position. Lucky, his championship hopes may be slipping away in front of him. MabeyRacing is trying to go for a second place position. That would be the best finish that someone not named Scored or Lucky would have had since going all the way back to Road America. And at Road America, mind you, Scored did not finish that race. But it may not happen because Lucky immediately accelerates away from the BMW in that run down to turn 1 and gets really close to Buffalo again. It's 2 laps to go. Whatever happens, happens. There will be no more yellow flags to the end of this race. Running downhill once again. Lucky trying to straight line Radion as much as he can. Be as straight line speed trimmed out as he can to run down Buffalo. The gap is at half a second, just a bit more than half a second. MabeyRacing has fallen back quite a bit from Lucky. And Buffalo had another lockup at the end of the Camel Straight. Through Sector 2. Lucky is closing the gap back down within half a second. It's fluctuating between about 5/10 and 6/10 of a second between the top 2. Despite that 18-point advantage that Lucky has from doing the top 3 all-day challenge, he still needs to be ahead of ScoredBuffalo. Buffalo could bring home 300 points to lock up his championship here. But it's not over yet. There's still about a lap and a half left. MabeyRacing is now starting to fade against this duo. The fight for fourth is starting to pick up. Horizon coming back against Shredder. Buffalo may have touched the dirt just a bit, will have hampered him. The gap's at 1 second between your top two. Nine-tenths. Lucky desperately doing everything he can. He has to do everything he can to try and run down Buffalo. And I would not condone it, but if Lucky gets into Buffalo, turns him, and Buffalo finishes anywhere that's not the victory, Lucky will beat him in the championship. I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm not condoning it. But if Lucky does get into Buffalo and turn him in a corner, and MabeyRacing gets by, that would give the championship to Lucky. But is he even close enough to try and make such a crazy daring move? I don't know. He closes in so much on the run down to turn 1. The white flag is in the air. It's at 7/10, but this time it's Lucky who locks up under braking. It's a 3/4 second gap. It's the run down now into the Al Rouge Radion complex for the final time. 6/10 is the gap. Buffalo may have had a bit of a hiccup coming into Al Rouge and Radion and come down to less than 6/10. The Bentley has the draft off the BMW. Can he close any more? Because Sector 2 is where the BMW is going to be stronger. Half a second. And now under braking. Lucky, who has not finished worse than top 2 in 10 straight races, is going to make it 11 straight races by the looks of it. But that's not going to be enough to beat ScoredBuffalo. Unless that BMW ahead makes a mistake or Lucky pulls out a massive run through one of these straights, this is going to be it. He will have one more chance. The run out of the final quarter will favor the Bentley way more than the BMW, but he needs to get close enough to make it happen. Buffalo has led the Drivers' Championship from the checkered flag at race 1. But it's going to come down to less than a second to decide this title. Gap opens up to about 8/10. So it's 2/10 closer than where it was this time last lap. Will that be enough to give Lucky a shot at the position? He does not have to worry about pressure from behind. He's going to have 2 more corners, 1 more heavy braking zone, and 1 acceleration zone to try and beat the BMW. I don't know if he'll be able to catch him, though. Checkered flag is waving. ScoredBuffalo at the front of the field has to just navigate the final chicane. And when he does, he's going to come out of there. He'll light up the tires, struggling to put power down. Lucky is coming, but as they come to the checkered flag, it won't be enough. ScoredBuffalo wins at Francorchamps, and with a 300-point advantage from winning this race, will win the title. Lucky will only come home second. Third will go to MabeyRacing. Fourth will go to TNR Horizon. Fifth, MrSunshine. Sixth, Shredder. Those positions may be up for change. Seventh, NFL Racer. Eighth will go to Prius Killer. But ScoredBuffalo is your championship winner. After winning he will bookend the season with a victory at the season opener at Bathurst with an incredible last lap overtake and a victory at Spa with a daring defensive drive with a restart at 4 laps to go. Incredible. And with that, our season will come to a close, but we want to go ahead and talk with our race finishers here before they leave for one last time before the season is over. Incredible stuff. Shredder might finish a little higher than where he's counted. We'll see later, but he may actually have 4th over Horizon. We'll see a little bit later if that is how it turns out or not. As we send out invites to try and hear what our various finishers have to say about their race. But the main people we want to talk with is going to be our championship winner and our second place driver in the title fight. Excuse me. Anyways, coming into the party right now is ScoredBuffalo. Buffalo, please go ahead, include your audio. A lot of people thought that you wouldn't be able to do it. It was going to be a fight to the end, no setup on the cars at Spa, a wildcard track. a track that had more accidents than any other circuit. And in the end, Buffalo, you not only win the race, but you are the IESC GT3 champion. Include your audio. What do you have to say about that performance today?
I'm really happy. The beginning kind of looked a little bleak with how Lucky was able to get away from me in the first sector, and I wouldn't be able to do anything in the last few sectors. But as he was starting to make some mistakes, I tried to take advantage of that. And at some point, I just got ahead of him, pulled a little bit of a gap, and then I believe it was around lap 16 or 17. I knew I had the lap pace advantage on him, so I pitted earlier, and went ahead and lose the podium promise challenge because I didn't think it was worth it. I was gonna see if Lucky would pit the lap after, and see if he would pit with me so we could keep battling. And I would think if that happened, there might be a bit of a tire race there, but he didn't. So I just ran my laps while he was out in front and pulled more of a gap, and I was just running my race until the caution, which worried me a lot. But I'm glad I was able to pull out in front and pull that gap.
Yeah, I have to talk about that, mate. That restart, and I'll say the same thing to Lucky as well when I finally interview him, but Buffalo, that restart, that final restart, you on the outside, Lucky on the inside, side by side through Al Rouge and Radion, a feat that no one thought would be possible without an accident. And you two pulled it off. How in the world did you do that?
It got pretty close. I was kind of close to that tire barrier, but I was just making sure that I didn't turn into Lucky, so then he would touch the grass and then we would both crash. But after that, I was like, maybe I have a chance. So yeah.
All right, well, so congratulations, mate. You should go home, celebrate big and strong, because you are the IESC GT3 champion. Showing up to every race in the season really paid off for you, to say the least. One of only a few drivers who were able to do it, and that was one of the main things, obviously, that brought home that champion. But driver of the day also, 300 points, the most points that we have seen somebody bring home this season. 300 points. I really can't state that enough. Incredible. Once again, congratulations, Buffalo. And now I want to talk with our second place finisher, Lucky FM. Lucky, go ahead, include your audio. Your stint this season has been incredible. For 11 straight races, you have finished second or first. You have started on the front row in basically every race, I believe, this season. And yet, despite that incredible run, it was not quite enough. What do you have to say about your run today, Lucky?
Shit happens. And I knew the only chance that I had was I had to beat Scored, and I knew his car was arguably faster than mine. So just try to get in front of him, stay in front of him, we were battling for a while, and then this fucking game decided to throw its wrench into everything, and the collision physics on this game are atrocious, and we made contact, and I got pushed all the way into the dirt on like the smallest contact, and he was able to get away. Then we went through pit cycles, and once I got back out, I kind of hit a groove, and I was able to catch up to start pulling up, catching up to Scored before, and then the caution came out, and then once again we were side by side through the first sector or two, and then I caught a little bit of dirt, and I spun my traction bogged. The tune I was in was very, one time in the dirt it would be the greatest thing ever, and then the next time it would make me traction bog. It was inconsistent, so it's unfortunate. But GG's to Buffalo for winning the season.
All right. Again, yes, Buffalo won that season, but mate, over the course of 11 races, you won 6 of them. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at. That is ridiculous by any metric, mate. And then you finished second in every other one. Like, I know it's not the championship, but you definitely have every right to be proud and happy with how this season has gone, mate.
With me missing the first race and no drop rounds, I had to get, win as many races as I possibly could, and just didn't finish it.
All right. Well, great job out there. 288 points earned today. Incredible feat there as well, mate. Congratulations on finishing second, because that was one heck of a performance. And now I want to go ahead with our talk with our third place finisher, MabeyRacing, assuming that Mabey did end up in the party here. Yes, Mabey did end up in the party. Mabey, go ahead, include your audio. Today was definitely your day. You were the one today that punched way above your weight and really threw down with the championship leaders. The only downside is that's not going to be enough to get you back ahead of NFL Racer for 7th in points, but great drive out there, mate. What do you have to say about your run?
I said Spa was the one to look forward to for me, didn't I? But yeah, it was an up and down day. Couple of incidents, and was able to claw back from it mostly. I felt like at points I was the fastest car on track. Of course, with the two leaders being a little handicapped, that helped. But at points I felt like the fastest car on track, and if everything played out perfectly, it was maybe a win, but I think that was about what I had today.
All right, well, still, you came back from as far back as 10th after being dumped on a restart and raced back up into 4th position and ended up taking 3rd. At one point, as high as 2nd, so incredible drive. Great to see you out there. Also, BMW's 1st and 3rd place finish, so great representation there. So at this point, looking back over the season, what do you have to say overall?
When I was here, I mostly hit my marks. That's my biggest thing, and yeah, about everything turned out as I expected, and yeah, it was a good season. That's about all I have.
All right, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Incredible drive. I would have given you driver of the day if not for what Buffalo did have to pull off, but incredible performance there. I want to talk with our 4th place finisher now. I'm not 100% sure who it was. I don't know if it was SRD Shredder or TNR Horizon.
Horizon.
It's going to be... Okay, so I want to talk with TNR Horizon then. Horizon, please go ahead, include your audio. Interesting scenario from you. You were, at one point, very briefly, leading the race. And you seem to be one of the best drivers out there that wasn't the championship contenders. What do you have to say about your run today, mate?
I mean, it was very punchy at the beginning. I was mainly just trying to stay out of the way, of whenever I did get in the lead, I just pulled off of the track because, scored. It was after they had a big incident. I wouldn't have been up there without that incident. They were right behind me, and I didn't want to just sit right in front of them, and it seemed like the game was already kind of iffy when it came to contact today, so I really didn't want to fuck with the championship and completely ruin somebody's day. So anytime I really I got the pace and then their stock tune kicked in and I was gaining crazy on them, I would usually let off because I didn't want to end up dumping somebody or ruining that. That was mainly my only thing about today. I mean, I didn't really have anywhere to gain in the points. I was too far back from 3rd, too far ahead of 5th, so it was just kind of stay out of the way and have a fun race.
All right, well, 4th place finish today, mate. 4th place in the overall championship fight as well. Interesting season. Looking back, what do you have to say about your season overall?
I mean, it was good. I feel like, I would have liked to have been able to push a little bit more in a few extra races towards the top. Monza was pretty much the only race, maybe Road America, where I had pace to compete with the top two. But other than that, that was probably more of a car advantage than anything. Just kind of a middle of the road season, and some people might look at 3rd, finishing 3rd pretty much every race and say, well, that's not very middle of the road for me. That'd be awesome. But when you're 20 seconds behind the leaders and 10, 15 seconds ahead of whoever's in 4th every single week, it can be kind of, seems like you're doing the same thing every day, same shit, different day type deal.
Yeah. All right, well, either way, mate, great drive out there. great representation for the Aston Martin brand as well. Really punching very, very strongly throughout the majority of the season. I look forward to seeing what else you have in store as we move on to the next game in a few weeks' time. Excuse me. And now I want to go ahead and talk with our 5th place finisher, SRD Shredder. Shredder, you finally got a top 5
I got
finish.
sick. Sunshine got me at the line.
Did he?
Yeah, I had no
Okay.
tires and understeered around the final corner. He got around me.
Okay, well then I'll come back to you later then, Shredder. Sunshine, please go ahead and include your audio. Apparently you got a 5th place finish. I completely missed that because I was focused on the title fight. But you came home with a 5th place finish today. What do you have to say about your run out there, mate?
That could have been better. Rough start, and everybody just kind of was blatantly ignoring track limits at the top of Eau Rouge. And the Porsche was already down on speed, so I was having to play way more defensive than I should have. Kept getting passed outside of track limits, kept getting passed with contact, so I was just elbows out, and just trying to keep it all together. The Porsche wasn't as stable through Eau Rouge, so I was having to let off a little bit, but it was just getting a little annoying.
Well, you did come home with 5th, and also, you did lock up 3rd in the championship by virtue of starting today as well. Do you have anything you want to say about that last yellow flag, considering that you were, in a way, involved in that, or?
No, not really. Pretty much just was what it was. I don't think there were 2 cars involved, but I also think that we should have done an extra caution lap because we just slowed down to like 35 miles an hour for whatever reason. So I wish that that would have been maybe implemented in the correct fashion.
All right, fair enough. Still, might not have been the greatest day, but will cap off a strong season for you overall. 3rd in championship points, leading laps, finishing podiums several times. Great job out there. I now want to go ahead and talk with our 5th place finisher, SRD Shredder. Our 6th place finisher, SRD Shredder. Shredder, go ahead and include your audio. That of all the races in the world that you've attended, that was one of them. What do you have to say out there about that?
I mean, qualifying was shocking because I tuned my car completely for the regs was going to be using for the track limits. So I knew I wasn't going to do that fly there. And for the start of the race, I was fairly competitive, but that was pretty much because top 2 were being slowed down and everyone else was throwing hands throughout the field. So I was fighting for 3rd for quite a fair bit, and then as the race developed, everyone sort of got into their stride and then started pulling ahead of me. And I think I was... If my car was also consistent, that could have probably helped me at the sort of mid to end bit, but it just kept throwing itself off at 2 or 3 corners consistently per lap. So there wasn't really much to do there. And then going to the final lap, my tyres went about beyond 80% instead of 85% right at the very end of that lap. So I had absolutely no turning for pretty much most of it. I was understeering into the people I was trying to pass. And then going to the final corner, I saw Rockmorrow in front of me, and then sort of tried to go around the corner, understeered a bit, hit him, let off so I didn't pass him. And Sunshine took me around the outside to get the imposition.
All right, well, locked up 5th in overall points, pretty much by virtue of starting today's race. Looking back at the season, what do you have to say?
I wish I picked a different car because, I mean, manufacturer bias, I love the Beamer. In hindsight, I probably would have taken some turning away just so it helped me. Probably reducing the front tire size would probably make me quicker because I wouldn't spend as much time drifting. So I probably should have done that earlier on.
All right, well, still, 6th place finish, mate. Congratulations on wrapping up a relatively strong season. I look forward to seeing what else you have planned for IESC coming into the next game. I also want to go ahead and talk with our 7th place finisher, NFL Racer. NFL Racer, go ahead and include your audio. That was a rough day for you. There's no game around. That was a rough day. But you lock up 7th in overall driver's points. What do you have to say about your run today? What was that like?
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, I'm pretty sure I was backwards 3 times today. Just can't get a freaking piece of luck at all for me. So, That sucks, but definitely had a really fast car. I thought I had top 5 pace easy. Also sucks because coming to take the white flag, I lost controller vibration, so I had nothing, no fuel at all for the car for the last lap. If I had, maybe I could have had something for Shredder and Sunshine, but it is what it is. Overall, really fast car today, and just wish I could have had a better result to show for it. Just keep getting bullied on the starts and restarts, and hopefully I can get something better for that in the future. But considering the start of the season and missing races and clawing back to finish 7 points, despite not having a single podium or anything like that, or even coming close to a podium, I'll absolutely take that.
All right, two other questions. Do you have anything you want to say about that big final accident out of Radion?
Took Rouge and Radion better than him. I dove to the outside so I didn't absolutely nail him in the back, and then he didn't give me any room when I was on the outside and just squeezed me into the tires. So I'm a bit peeved with that. You know, probably submit a clip of it later, but yeah, that it happened, and I feel bad for Prius too, because the 3 of us were having a heck of a fight and kind of nullified that whole fight, but it happened, and we're just gonna see what the admins think of the clip, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, either way, mate. Looking back at the season overall, like in general, you have anything you want to say looking back, or?
Not really anything negative per se. I mean, Shredder did a great job running the series. It was very competitive, very fun. I really enjoyed my time here. Wish I could have made all the races. Maybe I could have had a better points finish if I had. But yeah, it was a real great time racing with a bunch of good quality drivers, and I can't wait to do this on Motorsport 8.
All right, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate. Come home in 7th position. I want to go ahead and talk with our 8th place finisher, last of everyone who was running at the end of the race, Prius Killer. Prius, go ahead, include your audio. You are higher than 8th at some points in this race, but someone had to be the last to cross the line. What do you have to say about your run today?
This was a surprisingly bad race. I mean, I've done Spa before, and I've been decent there, but the car was just too loose to really handle the midsection of the track. I could gain quite a bit on NFL and Sunshine from the start of that back straightaway, about turn 15, all the way up down the hanger straight at the start of the lap into that first chicane. But then just the middle of the lap, I lost too much to actually really keep up with anyone. And then getting involved in both cautions didn't really help much.
What happened in the first scenario? Because I did not see that. What happened in the first accident that brought out the yellow?
Sunshine hit the left side tire barrier at the top of Radion it'd be, and I just went straight into him.
Ah.
I was doing a stoppie on the front splitter of the car for a good 5 seconds.
Damn. All right. Anything you want to say about the second incident? We did catch that one on tape, at least. Anything you want to say about the second incident?
NFL, you gotta work on your Antoine Hubert recreation.
Damn.
Well, first off, he's not an open cockpit. Second off, he's going way slower. Third off, yeah, it's not open wheel.
All right. Well, irregardless, anything you want to say looking back at your season overall, Prius? Anything you want to say that's not what you have written on the back of your bumper, that is.
Well, see, the back of the bumper really only pertained to the one race, but had the season gone better, had I not disconnected and then got wrecked in a couple of races, probably would have been a great fight between me and Shredder for this final race over the points, but just the whole season decided it wanted to screw me for about the first half of it, and just couldn't really get good finishes on the tracks I was good at, and then I sucked at the other ones.
All right, well, irregardless, we'll come home 6th in points overall. I do want to say thanks for jumping in and running for a majority of the season, and like to see what else you have in store for us coming into the next game over the next few weeks.
I'm waiting.
With that in mind, so what?
I'm waiting for micro minis too.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, that'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast today. Once again, we want to congratulate ScoredBuffalo winning the first, third, fifth, and last race of this 12-race season. That was enough to help them secure the championship. Congratulations once again to ScoredBuffalo at doing that. And until next time, I've been your host, InsaneLeader13. This channel will probably stay a little bit active. There will probably be a little bit of streams hit and miss in the first few things going on to Forza Motorsport 8. But with that in mind, we'll be taking a little bit of a hibernation here. I look forward to seeing you all again once broadcasting is re-enabled on Forza Motorsport 8 so we can start covering races again. Until then, thank you for joining us today, and goodbye.